Have you ever seen a player change her entire career in just 1 week? Not 1 season, not 1 year. Just 1 unforgettable week. Because that's exactly what Eala has done. She didn't simply win matches. She defeated champions, silenced critics, and completely changed the conversation around women's tennis. One after another, some of the biggest names in the sport stood across the net, and one after another, they walked away defeated. Now, just days after lifting the biggest trophy of her career, Eala is heading to the Canadian Open with something she's never had before: a position reserved for the elite, a first-round bye, a seeded spot, and a draw that could eventually put her face-to-face with the world #1. But here's the shocking part. What happened in Washington may have been only the beginning, because the challenge waiting in Toronto could be even bigger than the title she just won. Let's break it all down. The celebrations in Washington hadn't even finished before reality came calling again. For most players, winning the biggest title of their lives means taking time to celebrate. Interviews, photos, family, a chance to breathe. Eala didn't have that luxury. Professional tennis moves incredibly fast, and within days of making history, her focus had already shifted toward another major tournament. But this time, everything was different. She wasn't arriving as an underdog anymore. She was arriving as one of the tournament's seeded players. That single detail tells you everything about how much her career has changed. Only a short time ago, Eala was still trying to prove she belonged among the world's best. Today, the rankings say she already does. Her run in Washington wasn't just impressive. It was historic. Throughout the tournament, she faced challenge after challenge against some of the toughest opponents on tour. An Olympic gold medalist, a defending champion, a top 10 player, a multiple Grand Slam champion, and finally, one of the highest-ranked players in the world. Instead of slowing down, Alex kept getting stronger. Each victory added another chapter to what quickly became one of the most memorable tournament runs of the season. By the time the final ended, there was no debate left. She had earned every bit of that trophy. And perhaps even more importantly, she had earned the respect of the entire tennis world. Winning a WTA 500 title isn't just about lifting silverware. The rewards go much deeper. Ranking points, confidence, momentum, recognition. Every one of those changed overnight. The victory pushed Eala to a new career-high ranking, officially placing her among the top 20 players in the world. That's a milestone that very few athletes ever achieve. And for Filipino tennis, it represented another historic first. Suddenly, tournaments weren't looking at Alex as a dangerous outsider. They were treating her like one of the favorites. That's exactly why her next tournament begins in such a different position. When the official Canadian Open draw was released, one detail immediately caught everyone's attention. Eala wouldn't be playing in the opening round. She had received a first-round bye. To casual fans, that might not sound like a huge advantage, but inside professional tennis, it's enormous. A bye means one less match, one less physical battle, one extra day to recover. One extra day to practice. One extra day to study potential opponents. After surviving an exhausting championship week in Washington, those extra days could prove priceless. Sometimes championships aren't won by the strongest player. They're won by the freshest one. And Alex has finally earned that opportunity. But don't mistake a first-round bye for an easy tournament. In fact, it often creates a completely different challenge. While Eala rests, her future opponent gets something she doesn't. Match rhythm. Confidence, a chance to get comfortable with the court conditions. That's why many seeded players actually struggle in their opening match. Their opponents have already adjusted to the speed of the surface. They've already experienced the stadium. They've already shaken off the nerves. Alex knows that, which means every practice session before her first match becomes incredibly important, because one slow start could erase all the momentum she built in Washington. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The first round bye isn't the biggest headline. The real story is who might be waiting on the other side. Because fate has created an opportunity that tennis fans have quietly been waiting for. A chance to rewrite unfinished history. Months ago, Eala suffered one of the most frustrating defeats of her season. It wasn't against the world's #1. It wasn't in a championship match, but it became one of the biggest learning experiences of her career. That defeat came against American power hitter Alicia Parks. Back then, Eala walked away disappointed. Today, she walks into Toronto as a completely different player. Stronger, smarter, more confident, and carrying the momentum of the biggest title of her career. The question now isn't whether Alex has improved. Everyone can see that she has. The real question is, has she improved enough to change the ending this time? Because if she does, the entire draw could open up, and what comes after that might be the biggest match of her career. But before anyone starts dreaming about a showdown with the world #1, Eala has one very important obstacle standing directly in her path. And it's not just another opponent. It's unfinished business. Her likely opening match in Toronto brings her face-to-face with Alicia Parks, the same player who ended her Australian Open campaign earlier this year. For many athletes, a loss like that becomes a painful memory. For Alex, it became motivation. She didn't spend the next several months complaining about what went wrong. She went back to work. She improved her movement. She sharpened her shot selection. She became more patient during long rallies. Most importantly, she learned how to stay composed under pressure. That's why this meeting feels completely different. This isn't the same Eala who walked onto the court months ago. This is a player who has already proven she can defeat some of the biggest names in women's tennis. And that changes everything. Of course, Alicia Parks remains a dangerous opponent. Her biggest weapon has always been power. When her serve is landing, she can dictate points almost immediately. She likes to play aggressively, shorten rallies, and force opponents onto the defensive. If she finds her rhythm early, she's capable of beating almost anyone. But tennis isn't decided by power alone. Consistency matters. Decision-making matters. Mental strength matters even more. Those are exactly the areas where Alex has made the biggest improvements over the past year. Instead of trying to overpower opponents, she builds points patiently. She changes pace. She creates uncomfortable angles. She forces mistakes instead of rushing for winners. It's a style that has frustrated several elite players already. And if she can execute that same game plan again, Parks could find herself under constant pressure. But here's what makes this match so fascinating. Neither player is entering Toronto with the same confidence they had at the beginning of the season. Parks has continued working to improve her ranking. Alex, however, has done something much bigger. She has transformed herself from a promising young talent into a genuine contender on the WTA Tour. Winning a WTA 500 title doesn't just improve your ranking. It changes the way opponents prepare for you. They study your matches more carefully. They respect your strengths. They know you're capable of pulling off another upset. That psychological shift can be just as important as any forehand or serve. For the first time, many players won't see Alex as the underdog. They'll see her as the threat. And that's a completely different kind of pressure. If Eala clears that hurdle, the road ahead becomes even more demanding. Every round in a WTA 1000 tournament feels like a Grand Slam battle. Higher-ranked opponents, greater expectations, less room for mistakes. One difficult match quickly leads to another. And somewhere deeper in the draw lies the possibility that has captured everyone's attention. A potential meeting with the world number one. It's the kind of matchup every young player dreams about. Not because it's easy, but because it's the perfect opportunity to measure yourself against the very best. For Alex, it wouldn't simply be another match. It would be another chance to prove that her Washington triumph wasn't a one-time surprise. It was the beginning of something much bigger. The interesting part is that momentum in tennis can be incredibly powerful. Players who arrive full of confidence often perform beyond expectations. Alex enters Toronto carrying exactly that feeling. She knows she can compete with elite opponents. She has already done it. She has already defeated champions. She has already handled pressure-packed moments. She has already lifted a major trophy. Those experiences cannot be taught. They can only be earned. And Alex has earned every single one of them. Still, momentum alone doesn't guarantee success. Every tournament starts at zero. Every opponent brings a new challenge. Every match writes its own story. That's why her coaching team will likely remind her to forget what happened in Washington. Celebrate the achievement. Learn from it. Then move on. Because tennis never rewards yesterday's victories. Only today's performance matters. And this is where the pressure becomes enormous. Millions of fans will now be watching every match differently. Not because they're hoping for another upset, but because they expect one. Expectations are often much heavier than dreams. For years, Alex was chasing the top players. Now, many of those same players will be preparing specifically for her. That's the price of success. The spotlight gets brighter. The pressure gets heavier. The target on your back becomes larger. But if Washington proved anything, it's that Eala doesn't run away from pressure. She rises because of it. As the Canadian Open begins, one thing is already certain. This tournament isn't simply about ranking points. It isn't only about prize money. It's about discovering whether Washington marked the arrival of a future superstar, or the beginning of a completely new era in women's tennis. The opportunity is there. The confidence is there. The experience is growing with every tournament. Now, all that's left is to step onto the court and prove it once again. Because history has already been made. The next question is even bigger. Can Eala keep this incredible momentum alive, and turn one unforgettable week into an unforgettable season? The tennis world is about to find out. If she continues playing with the same belief, discipline and fearless attitude that carried her to the biggest title of her career, Toronto may become another chapter in a story that's only just beginning. And if that happens, the rest of the tour won't just be watching Eala anymore. They'll be trying to stop her.